Excited to be here. We're going to run a quick clip of MoneyGram's F1 partnership to get you guys hyped up, and then we'll dive into it.
It's lights out, and away we go.
Awesome. Well, yeah, my name is Cole Cook. I work for a company called Core. That's Core with a K. We work with over 1,000 brands, properties, agencies around the world on measuring and evaluating all of your sports partnerships. So historically, sports sponsorship is kind of a black box in terms of the return on your investment, and we've developed a technology that allows you to measure that in real time, and we do that with MoneyGram. We do that with both the college football teams that are playing here this weekend, a bunch of the F1 teams, F1 themselves. So we're excited to be here with Fran and Eva on our team. We'll be around all day if you guys want to chat. Happy to do so, but with that, I'm going to introduce David Perro from MoneyGram.
Well, thanks for having me, Cole. It's great, appreciate Core and all they do with us, and it's great to be here with Indeed and Brand Innovators. We've had a nice partnership with Brand Innovators and done a lot of events, so it's good to be back at another one here for U.S. Grand Prix weekend and, of course, a rather important football game, it turns out.
So yeah, walk us through, for those in the audience, kind of your role at MoneyGram and what your responsibilities are on a day-to-day, other than traveling the world to...
Yeah, if I didn't have to travel the world, I'd actually probably get more stuff done. I don't travel to every race. I do travel to a lot of races, and sometimes it gets a little much, starts affecting the voice and so forth. But I'm the head of global sponsorship at MoneyGram, and we're not a brand that has done all that much traditionally in the sponsorship space. This is relatively new, and something as significant as Formula One as a title of a team was a rather big play for us. I had actually been consulting with them. We're coming up on the 2-year anniversary of the launch of this sponsorship, and hopefully we'll talk a little about that as we move forward. But I had come on as a consultant to help get them through that final negotiation and the launch of the program, and then I figured it was time to go back onto the client side and ended up joining the firm, and it's been a great decision because the company, for those of you who don't know MoneyGram, is a 80-plus-year-old company that is a payment services, and for most of that time, we were serving a migrant community, sending money overseas. People that had to get money back to the people that they loved, people that they needed to support, and that has been our mission. But we had evolved as a brand, and we're going much more digital, much more mobile, and we needed to start looking at new things to help market, and that's really where F1 fits into this. But my job is managing that, exploring all other kinds of sponsorship opportunities, and making sure we're getting the most out of these relationships.
That's awesome. So why kind of the Haas team? Obviously, there's a lot of opportunities in motorsports. F1 is a global entity with a vast, wide audience, given some of the growth of Drive to Survive and all of that. But why specifically Haas made the most sense for MoneyGram?
Well, first of all, we weren't seeking out and saying we needed to be in motorsports or we needed to be in F1. It was somewhat of an opportunistic situation, but we were looking for, to my previous point, something to help anchor the brand to that would help us tell a new story, create a new narrative for what we were. Formula One was the more immediate thing. We ended up looking at it And it really fit a number of things. Number one, 70% of our business was actually in countries where Formula One races were being held. That was significant. And it had this story, it had this hot story. Yes, some of that was definitely Drive to Survive. So it was on people's mind, and we felt we could anchor something to it. So Formula One became a realistic option for us. Obviously, there are other global sports, football, of course, soccer, and cricket, and those things are things that we will always keep an eye on. But Formula One had that technology, it had the innovation, and of course it had the speed, all things that are important brand attributes for us. So that was number one, and we did look at a number of different opportunities. Why Haas? And a lot of people say, oh, is that because they're American-based? I'm not saying that hurt, but that was not the primary reason. It really came down to where we could get what we needed, which we felt was that title where we truly could be a partner. But just being a partner wasn't necessarily what you just paid for. Is can you develop the type of relationship, or is there a cultural fit with a property, in this case Haas, that allows you to actually build a partnership together? We looked at other teams, either minor deals, some bigger deals, depending on where the teams fit in the grid, and that's kind of how how they slot in from a what your sponsorship fee base is. But we very quickly felt that Haas gave us that opportunity to truly build a partnership. So when it came to designing the car, when it came to designing the team logo, which puts MoneyGram very front and center in multiple ways in that. We felt was the right partnership. And they were a smaller team, definitely smaller than anyone else on the grid, but that allowed us to be, again, a true partner. And we couldn't be happier with the way that we're able to work with them on that.
Yeah, you guys have done a great job, and I think one key aspect of that and some of the stuff we've helped you with on just the social strategy and looking back over the last 2 years of the partnership now, the content was maybe a little stale previously, but you guys have made some big changes this year and the results have shown for themselves. But can you kind of walk through for the room what your social strategy is with drivers and the team and how you monetize all the different aspects?
Yeah, well, first of all, in any type of sponsorship, one of the great things is utilizing that sponsorship from a social standpoint. And anytime you do that for a brand, and we weren't, be honest, my CMO's not here right now, we were definitely not a cool brand, but he was also the leader in getting this F1 deal done. So we weren't necessarily cool, and we're still working on that. We want to be relevant, we want to talk to people. So using F1 right from the beginning definitely elevated. We know even in the first year, anything we pushed out on our own channels did significantly better than anything else we had ever done. And so that's the strength, obviously, of sponsorship in any way, or creator marketing, or whatever the case may be. But what we have done to elevate that is really understand what people are doing, following the trends in what F1 teams do, what other sponsors do, of course. And we just got better with our content. So the numbers that we've seen this year have just been off the chart in terms of the growth we've had year over year. And year over year previously wasn't all that bad. So when we talk to our ownership, we're owned by a private equity company right now, we talk to them, we show them those numbers and what a sponsorship like this can do. It helps just put our brand front and center. We've actually reduced the number of total posts this year, if you look at it from a metric like that. But when it comes to video views or content engagement and all that stuff, we're in 500% more, 700% more, just unbelievable numbers in terms of our growth. And that's just doing the things that people react to and making sure that we still keep our brand front and center in that, though.
That's awesome. So social is obviously one piece of the puzzle of measuring the return on your investment for your private equity group. But what are some of the other kind of data points or KPIs that you guys are looking at?
Yeah, we have a series of what we call value drivers on our program that we address on a very regular basis. Because we weren't necessarily known outside of those people that had to use us on a very regular basis because we were kind of the true connection for them with people, and we wanted to expand the reach and bring ourselves to younger audiences and people that were a little more mobile in their banking dealings and so forth. We are very keen on making sure our presence is growing. So the media reach that we get, the exposure that we get through the broadcast is very important. So we're constantly tweaking to make sure that the brand looks right on the car, always looking at that. We have a significant increase this year over last, and I will give some credit to the team because they're performing much better this year, which is certainly helpful. But we look at where those countries are coming from so we can understand, are we hitting the right places and so forth. We also do look at earned media, and that goes back to the concept of, are people talking about us more? Do they want to talk about us more? Because of F1, we're now able to get our CEO Alex Holmes, our CMO Greg Hall, in front of people that we never would have gotten them in front of before. Again, one of the strengths of kind of a cool sponsorship like this. We certainly look at the social engagement. We also, whenever we do promotions, we are looking for subscribers. We're looking for people that now come into our system that we can market to via CRM and so forth. And that's going to be something over the next few years that we lean into even more. We also look at indirect revenue growth. What can we attribute in terms of our growth and impact in our key areas to the fact that we are in this sport. And our data team is always looking at new ways to try to analyze that. Brand sentiment, what people either know about us on a global basis and how they feel about us, and how that's shifting both among a neutral group as well as an F1 group. And we had a 5-year goal on that, and we hit that in the first year, which was very exciting.
Awesome, congrats on that. And you bring up hospitality and kind of just unlocking new audiences at the C-suite level. That's something we work with a lot of global banks actually on. There's a value with entertaining certain clients at an F1 race or Wimbledon versus maybe a college football game, and there's an ROI to that as well. You might not see it on the bottom line directly, but if they're going to do their business banking with you or transactions for you guys, it's a massive.
Our partnerships are actually another piece of that, and we're looking to grow that. We are a B2C company. A lot of people think we're B2B. We actually don't right now have a traditional move your money if you're paying employees through business, but we do have a business, a MoneyGram business division, which is now actually called MoneyGram FinTech Solutions, which is more of partnerships where we go in and kind of build the infrastructure for different apps that are looking to have a payment service aspect in it, and that's a big growth area for us. So oftentimes we have two different segments that we entertain when we go. We often say that our customer is not the Paddock Club people. Our customer is the farthest thing from the Paddock Club. So why are we in the Paddock Club? Because our customer is the people that are camping in Silverstone, or they're on a hill in Barcelona. And that's great. We always want to talk to the customers on that. When we do entertain, we entertain our agents. And agents to us are the people where the kiosks are, or the post offices. The people where people can go in and actually send money, or people can go in and receive money around the world. We have over 400,000 units around the world, like an unbelievable number. I used to work at McDonald's, and they say we have way more than you, by the way. So I thought that was kind of cool. We're in over 200 countries and territories around the world. So that's a big part of our business, because people own those businesses. So we do entertain them, make sure that those relationships stay well. In the Middle East, almost our entire business is through those digital partnerships I talked about. So we bring those folks out to the races quite a bit, and that's proved very valuable for us.
Love it. Well, it wouldn't be a marketing fireside chat if we didn't talk about influencers at least a little bit. But you guys have done some cool stuff. We saw it in the clip there, some of the partnerships you've done. But can you walk through some of the success stories and kind of how you guys approach finding influencers, entertaining them, and what your strategy is there?
Yeah, it's an interesting strategy, and we like to be careful with it, but we know it's working, and so we're going into it even a little more. We have a great team. We've actually increased the people that we have working on it internally. There's a woman I work with named Tara Bowles who's coming and kind of manages that program. And we keep it under a media area, so our more traditional media, which is mostly digital, is kind of overseen in the same area. So we kind of keep these areas pretty tight because we kind of look at them together. We do use Tagger to help us identify influencers from time to time. We've done other things. So why it's an interesting challenge is when we're talking to our customers, who are just people getting through their lives, working and trying to get money to people, we're not necessarily just trying to show off like the big life, oh, we sent this influencer to an F1 race. So one of the things we actually look for when we do influencer-based programs is identifying people that have some interest in F1 or some knowledge of F1 in one way or another. We did a program in Monza this year, and it was the first time we did this, where we actually brought some pretty significant influencers, a woman named May and a woman named Vidya, both US-based, brought them to Monza and had them kind of have the full experience. But we really looked at what their following was, what they were communicating, who they were communicating to. They both happen to be MoneyGram customers as well. We're both second-generation Americans that had ties to other countries. Again, perfect up our alley. They had knowledge of or had been to F1 races. In one case, May's husband was like this absolute fanatic. And we brought them in, and they were so respectful of the experience, because that's important. We don't want to go in, we don't want to annoy F1, because they have to be a little sensitive to that. Why are all these influencers coming in? And just they get to have all the experiences that the regular fans don't. So while we're appealing to those kind of regular fans, we really do want to monitor that. But we're moving forward with that program. We're going to do it again in Mexico City next weekend with another American-based influencer who sends money through MoneyGram to her family in Mexico. Her name is Daisy Sanchez. She also happens to be a mother and a surgeon. So that's pretty amazing. Plus has this lifestyle. So she's kind of has this great story to tell. And that's what we want to do. Have them interact with the drivers and tell a story to customers rather than just kind of put the high life out there. So we do have to be careful. We also have, we're going kind of big pretty soon with, I think I can say this, we're doing some stuff with Kavi, who's the rather giant TikToker around a movie release that he's doing for Brazil. We may tie him into a promotion in Vegas that we'll be launching. We're doing some activation on site in Brazil as well. So yes, this is an important thing that's evolved very quickly, because everything has to happen very quickly. So we kind of dabbled in it the first year, and now are leaning into it a little harder.
You're all in.
Yeah.
From the start line forward. But yeah, when we were doing one of the prep sessions for this, you talked about the story of the sweepstakes that you ran in Norway. Can you share that story with the audience here? Because I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we do a thing called Dream Weekends. Simple concept, same concept that a lot of either teams do or whatever, is we bring fans to a regular trip. We call it the Dream Weekend. And we've done it in quite a few places. And this year I wanted to expand. I wanted to do one in Monaco, because Monaco was the crown jewel. And it was the first time we were going to do a promotion in more than one country. When we do a promotion in more than one country, it's a little complicated, because we have to get the rules of every country, we have to translate in all those languages. So, and our legal is very, very on us about this type of stuff. So we did an EU-wide promotion for a giveaway, and plus the UK. I have to remember to say that now. To go to Monaco. And Monaco's a complicated place logistically. Anyway, the winners were, the winner was a woman from Norway, who was originally from Somalia. And she's studying to be a nurse. And, well, she's already a nurse. She's studying to kind of, create an advanced degree for herself. And she's just an unbelievable person. And she brought her best friend. And so the whole process, we did some paid social to promote it. And her story was she went through this unbelievable process to verify if this was a legitimate promotion. And it was like in one fell swoop, it said, hey, our media concept is actually working, because she saw it on Instagram. She then went to check. She's a racing fan, so she checked motorsport.com, which is, we had done some stuff there to create some legitimacy. And then she checked on an influencer site or whatever to verify that this was all real. And she goes, okay, now I'm going to enter. Ends up winning the contest and has this great story. The other thing that we learned from that, because we had started capturing, whenever we do these, we would capture the content from them. We would say, send us your videos, send us your photos and everything, and we would put content out there. Because everybody is kind of their own influencer now, they were so savvy on social, they actually were creating our content for us. So they were taking videos, and at the end of every day, they were sending us, here's a piece of content. We never even changed a thing. It was like, okay, you guys are really good. I see where your careers are possibly going. But yeah, so it was really kind of neat how good some people are that are just out there trying to create content and have a presence on social media. And they were just so delightful to be around. It's one of the best parts about my job is meeting these customers around the world that just have these great stories and just, find people that you would never thought you were going to meet from this country that have this other interesting backstory. And it's always been very inspirational for me and for all of us.
Yeah, it's the power of sports and live entertainment, tug on the heartstrings a little bit. It's the best. But as far as just kind of the success and looking at the future a little bit, obviously winning helps everything. But what are some of the ways that you were planning to work with? Obviously, a new driver coming. I think that did really well for you on social. How are you guys looking to maximize some of the changes on the team side?
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, we had massive changes this year, and Gunther Steiner got fired by Gene Haas. Eo Komatsu became the team principal. We were very worried about that, to be honest. It wasn't a decision that we were involved in. In fact, Gunther was a big part of us. One of the best campaigns we did was a promotion at Holiday last year with Gunther that performed very well on social. And then during the season, it's been announced that we're going to have this young British driver next year, Ollie Behrman, who we think has a chance to be a superstar. He's young. He's significantly younger than our two drivers right now, but he has a following that is just larger. And so some of our biggest spikes this year were around announcements with Ollie. And then we have a driver coming over from Alpine, Esteban Ocon will be the other driver, who's French. Speaks 4 languages, I think, which helps us. And we'll see what that combination is. We don't get involved in those decisions, but from an evolution of how we use them, AO has proven to be more useful for us. And it sounds like they're just mercenaries and we're using them at our leisure. But then we expected him today. In fact, we did a program with him called AO's Assignment, an STEM education program we just did in Dallas yesterday, was the culmination of it. And he's just a fantastic guy, super smart. We actually like working with him. Anytime we go, hey, we just did this social with Kevin and Nico, would you mind sitting down and doing stuff? He does it and he completely hits it out of the park. So that's been surprising and more useful than we thought. The drivers will have to see. But the key is that we just have to keep looking at content. It almost doesn't matter to us. We love the performance on the track. We love the fact that they're better this year. It's definitely led to a lot of stuff. We hope we can continue to build a fan base in the U.S., of course, for MoneyGram, but for the team as well. But we've got to do our job no matter what. So we've got to be smart, tap into the trends. And if we see things that they're really tapping, I'm very optimistic about what we'll be able to do with Ollie Behrman. A little joke here, I was talking to Naomi Schiff, who's one of the Sky announcers, right as the Ollie announcement was getting made. And she, and if you know F1 kind of leans a little British, right? And that's cool. And I said, pretty exciting news about the Ollie announcement. She goes, yeah, that's a great call. That's going to be great. I said, let's help make him a big star. She goes, he's British. We'll make him a star. So.
Transactions are going through the roof there. But how, as far as F1 is obviously a big space for you guys, what does the future of kind of sports partnerships and activations look like? Is there others on the horizon, or what's your strategy look like going forward?
We don't wake up and say we need another sponsorship. That's not the focus. For us, for anything new that we may be doing, it's going to be very specific, tied to either a product or a corridor. We market via corridor, money being sent from one place to another, say US to Mexico, for instance, UK to India, Italy to Morocco. And so we look at things like that. So we definitely think that soccer, cricket could play a role. There are other sports that certainly can. But we have a lot on our hands with this, and we want to make sure that we're maximizing it. We talk to our regions regularly. We do have a cricket deal with Rashid Khan, who's one of the best cricketers, captain of the Afghanistan national team, plays for Mumbai, plays in multiple leagues around the world. He's great. We'll see where that goes. And again, I'm in regular contact with a lot of different properties in our regions to see where we should go next. And we have some deals here in Texas that FC Dallas has been a long-standing deal, and that originated at a hometown deal, but it's been a fun relationship for us.
Awesome, that's another mutual customer. But as far as this weekend, obviously massive things going on. How can some of the audience members or fans engage with MoneyGram, and what are some of your plans?
We can always engage with MoneyGram by downloading the app and using. We have all kinds of new products in the U.S. It's not just for sending money cross border.
David's also a podcast host,
So
if you want to download that, that's another download for you.
Yes, I do host a sports business podcast, but we actually, 2 years ago, I mentioned we launched the program here. It was announced that we were going to become the team sponsor, and it was in the 2022 season of this race. And we launched it right around the corner at Joe's Coffee. If any of you have ever been there, I'm a big fan of it. I always stop there when I come in. That's where we did the announcement. And we did it, and we also did a press conference at CODA, like the standard press conference. But the reason we launched it there was to absolutely define how we wanted the sponsorship to be, and that was to be like the way people live their lives. We did it at a coffee shop in Austin. And so we always think about our activations that way. I will say this, we have moved our CODA-based activation to Dallas. As I mentioned this thing, AO's assignment, we actually do a full education day. We bring the team in, so yesterday was a very loaded day for us in Dallas. And we host students from around the city and had a nice press event. And that's kind of become the focus. We generally don't do some of the traditional activation in market. Some of that is because we want to make sure we prefer not to have to break through a lot of noise. So we'll do viewing parties in other markets to watch a race where we know we can make a huge impact. And that's different by market, but a lot of what we do when it comes to the U.S. Grand Prix, which we treat as our home race, if you will, because our headquarters is in Dallas, is the day before in Dallas.
That's awesome. Well, I know we've got just a couple minutes left here. I want to give time to the audience to ask any questions for David around their partnerships. So, any questions? On the way back, do you want to yell or you want to fight?
Hey, Bill Murphy here. Love the partnership with Haas. Question I was covering global sponsorships. You mentioned that you had put your CMO and CEO in front of a lot of rooms now because of the affiliation with F1. Has that also helped get more sponsorships or more opportunities for other sponsorships across the globe with other companies and other...
For the team?
For MoneyGram.
Well, what ends up happening when you have the presence that we now have, it happened immediately after we signed this deal, is we get a lot of incoming, and that's great. We can learn from that. I remember in October of 2022, because Alex Holmes and Greg hadn't done that much sponsorship before, and because they all of a sudden started getting all this stuff, and like, this is fascinating. Where did this start coming from? Well, it came because we announced, and people will kind of come to you now because we're now a legitimate brand in everyone's eyes. So we are. So to the press, to investors that might want to invest in our private equity ownership fund, say, those are all good things because it's solidified it. Now we also had, because Haas had two previous sponsors that didn't work out very well. So you may know that it was the Russian fertilizer deal and the energy drink deal. It wasn't really an energy drink, as it turns out. And so, we kind of came on, and Will Buxton said to me, Will's on Drive to Survive, if you watch Drive to Survive, we used him to host our first event. And he said, yeah, you're the third person that's finally like where the father finally says to the daughter, okay, he's okay. So it sounds like an old analogy, but that's what he said. And I hope that's, borne itself out. But yeah, it's just been kind of cool that what sponsorship at this type of level can do for the brand. But I will also say this, on the flip side of that, the team announced a Toyota partnership recently, Toyota Gazoo Racing, and an insurance company sponsorship that's launching this week. So they're doing much better with the performance getting better, and I think us being part of that. Sorry for the long answer there.
Oh, that's great. Kudos to you. I think we're out of time, but
Wait, here's another question.
maybe one more.
Another one.
Yeah, I have another one.
Oh, okay.
Go for it.
I love your genuineness to the stories of the people who use your product, to the genuineness in sports and fandom and all of the things that go along with that, even in how you're using influencers and all this. How do you ensure that part of the storytelling really comes out in the content that gets created?
I think one of the things we need to do and continue to work on, and this is important when we start using influencers, is that we don't lose sight of what our customers are all about. The first Dream Weekend we ever did was in Australia last year, not this season, last year. It was like our first promotion we were really doing this way. And it was very local. We didn't put much media behind it. And we had a young a computer sciences student from Nepal that was studying in Sydney, brought him down to Melbourne. He didn't speak his English wasn't great, but we had him in the paddock, so I'm trying to communicate with him. Gunther Steiner speaks Italian, German, and English. His English is, if you've seen him, is very German sounding in his accent. I introduced the two. He's 19 years old. He sends money back to Nepal. And they're like, oh, hi. And I'm like, hey, he's from Nepal. Gunther is a climber, loves mountain climbing. There's this natural connection with Nepal. For the next half hour, they're talking as though there's no language barrier, that their English is both like mine, and they had this unbelievable conversation. I'm like, that's what I have to remember, everything about this. So we try to keep that in mind, and we all tell that story. Like, what is that story, and what's the thing that F1 helps us connect people with, and how do we make sure that we just keep that connectivity and it never gets about things that aren't tied to what our customers need. Anyway, that's I just like relating that story because it was very meaningful to me.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll give it up for David, and good luck.